Right, tukianza na gazeti la Taifa Leo, wanasema serikali za kaunti zimeshirikiana na ile ya kitaifa kubomolea wakazi nyumba walioziishi kwa miaka mingi. I think one of the best examples is Woodley Estate here in Nairobi. So wanasema nyumba za machozi, ubomoaji, mpango wa ujenzi wa nyumba za bei nafuu ambao ulianzishwa na serikali ya Kenya Kwanza umebadilika kuwa machozi. Sio tu kwa wanaobebeshwa mzigo wa ushuru, kuna wanabomolewa makazi yao, bali pia kwa wanakandarasi. So to the contractors who are undertaking this affordable housing project, they are also crying. Those whose houses are being demolished, they are complaining. And of course, for those of us who are being deducted the 1.5% housing levy, kuna payslip imeumia pale. So hiyo ndo habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Vidokezo zaidi kwenye gazeti hili, ashtaki pasta kumchafulia jina kanisani. Sikiza hii. Kiongozi wa vijana ashtaki pasta kumweka katika hatari ya kukosa msichana wa kuoa.
Oh.
I think the pastor said something about him. And then now he's a youth leader. Now he's saying now whatever the pastor said.
It's because...
no, he's putting me at risk of not getting a bride.
So he's
going to court.
So he's going to court for that?
Yes. Vita kati ya Hezbollah na Israel vyaisha. Vita kati ya Israel na kundi la Hezbollah vimedumu kwa miezi 14.
So the international news.
Yes, na pigo kwa Kenya Power mahakamani. Lakini pale juu wanasema kioja cha mabunge mawili Nyamira. Vita vya ubabe vinazidi kutikisa bunge la kaunti ya Nyamira, huku mirengo miwili ya madiwani ikiandaa vikao viwili vya shughuli za bunge. Lakini kuna kwenye masuala ya michezo hapa anasema Arsenal wa Man City woi. Klabu za mechi ya klabu bingwa Ulaya hofu tele kuhusu makali ya Arsenal. These after Arsenal beat Sporting Lisbon 5-1.
Wow.
And then Manchester.
Are you a Manchester United fan?
No, I'm an Arsenal fan.
That's why you're laughing.
No, it's wanasema Arsenal wa Manchester City woi. Manchester City.
It's the headline.
They were 3-0 up.
Yes.
And then they ended up
5-1.
getting 3-3.
Wow.
So they lost a 3-0 lead in the Champions League, which was very, very sad for that team. Right.
This is People Daily. 24 Kenyans seized over bank fraud. Sophisticated suspects siphoned billions through fraudulent scripts after altering system security protocols of financial institutions. That is on page 4. So they actually talked about this white-collar crime, how it happened, what led to it, and how it was a sophisticated crime with the suspect siphoning billions.
There are reports that even Interpol is pursuing some few Kenyan youth who have been involved in some of this white-collar crime.
Wow.
Carding is one of them. Wale wanasema wanafanya kazi ya forex online.
Very, very interesting.
So we'll see what happens.
Mountain Courts, Kalonzo.
Yes. There's some elders, Kikuyu elders yesterday announced that they've admitted the Kamba community into Gema. So Gikuyu, Embu, Meru, the A was initially association, now they're saying is Akamba.
Okay, so it's changed.
It's changed.
Boost for Raila as Mauritius PM backs him for AU top job. Of course, this is a top story that we are going to be looking at. It's also on other newspapers. That's on page 5. And new tough rules for surrogate parenting. Interesting. That's on page 8. Plus, why it would cost Kenya 61.5 million shillings to sack coach Firat.
Yes, again, Firat, I think, has come to the end of his deal with Harambee Stars after Kenya failed to qualify for any.
And it would actually cost him
we'll have to pay him 61.5
million shillings.
Where? Kuna kazi. Daily Nation, Adani Deals, court demands proof of termination. Indian farmer bagged power lines contract with the JKI tender lined up. Now a judge has directed the government to table evidence on the revocation of 2 multi-billion shilling deals involving controversial Indian conglomerate Adani Group. President William Ruto ordered the cancellation last week following a bribery indictment by US authorities. So the court says because there was an ongoing case in court, and the petitioner said, yes, the president may have announced that he has cancelled, but there's no proof. How would we know? So, metisha proof. End of Azimio? That's a question. So apparently today, Na Kenya Party, which is led by Martha Karua, will be holding the National Delegates Convention to formally withdraw from the opposition coalition. signaling the impending collapse of the outfit as more affiliate parties plot to exit. Of course, Raila Odinga and his ODM are part of government now, although they say they are not. Others, including Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and the Democratic Action Party, DAP-K, which is led by Eugene Wamalwa, they've also hinted at ditching the coalition, saying they were making wide consultations before the move. And you have an image there of the leaders of Azimio, how it was. This is a file photo back then in 2023. Right now, it is rare to see them together.
That particular story right there about the drug trafficker Joyce Akinyi, who finally runs out of luck.
Yeah,
you know, she's been on trial for 4 years, and she's been in the news for all the wrong reasons. She also accused her ex-husband of actually being a drug trafficker. She put all the blame on him publicly. And yes, now she has officially, finally been held accountable. She runs out of luck, and she's been found guilty of drug trafficking.
Yes, a few years back, she used to be on the front pages of dailies quite regularly. Joyce Akinyi. You can read more of that story on page 3. Senators unite to reject bill seeking to buy MPs from Harambes is on the back page of this paper. So MPs have opposed the regulation of Harambes. This was a government-sponsored bill seeking to lock public officers from fundraising, but MPs have said, we're not going to support that one.
Moving on, let's take a look at what's happening in the Standard. Fresh split hits review of varsity funding model. Now, a team reviewing the controversial new university funding formula is riding a fresh storm, with revelations that student representatives are demanding that the controversial 5 bands that determine the level of state of support for learners be collapsed to only 3, something university administrators and scholars say would lead to financial distress for the institutions. And of course, 129, that's the number of members of the National Working Committee who will be reviewing this new university funding model that has been set up by President William Ruto following complaints by students and members of the public.
Right. So yes, at least this is the first piece of news we've had from that committee, that they are reviewing the funding model. Finally. But they're already split. They're not agreeing. There's a very interesting story here. Medics are calling a work boycott after intern doctor's death. This is the latest suicide involving.
So KPM PDU yesterday, actually, they put out a nationwide strike starting on Saturday after this particular incident where there was an intern, a doctor who actually committed suicide in his house. And yes, they have been echoing grievances of poor working conditions for the longest time. This isn't the first case that we have seen where an intern has committed suicide. Just a few months ago, there was another case of the same.
I think this is a fourth.
This is, this
year.
Many
months, yes.
This, absolutely. So yeah, there has been long-standing grievances, you know, it seems like nothing has been done so far to address doctors' concerns.
Well, yes, so a strike by medical doctors looming beginning this Saturday. ODM embraces consensus to avert a poll fallout, and I think they've decided not to go with a ballot, so they're just agreeing on who takes over where. And the other story, and this is interesting, cries of ex-lands boss with a record over 200 cases. So this one gentleman is called Wilson Gashanja. He's a former lands commissioner, and he was a very famous gentleman during the Moi days. He left office over 20 years ago. He claims countless cases are haunting him, most of which he says he has nothing to do with.
Anything with.
And nor can he barely remember.
He says they've cost him 178 million shillings.
He's always fighting court cases. He's always in court. And sometimes he cannot even attend court properly because these cases are all over the country. There are over 200 cases. Some of them fall on the same day in Mombasa, Malindi, and Eldoret, and he cannot even attend them.
Now he says, please stop them. Enough is enough.
Now he has to pay lawyers to attend court on his behalf because physically it's impossible. Wilson Gashanja, you can read more of that story on page 12 of the Standard. All right, quite a busy front page there.
That is the Star. Auditors could access secret security spend. Lawmakers rally behind proposed changes to Public Audit Act, and that's on page 4 to 5 of the Star newspaper. Of course, that's an interesting story. Right there on the right, we see a photo of Martha Karua, once again talking about how I endured betrayal in Kibaki's hands, never his insider. So some more insights being revealed that is from her book, indeed, on page 8. I feel like every day there is something about
I think they're serializing. The Star is serializing her book.
There's an excerpt from her book.
Yes.
Every day they talk about something that she said in her book or something that had happened. and she had narrated in her book.
Right.
Interesting.
Okia Omtata is also on the front page of the Star. He says, I'll take on Ruto in 2027. Senator Okia Omtata, and we see him yesterday inaugurating his Presidential Exploratory Committee, whose mandate is to assess his chances for 2027 presidential contest.
All right, so good news to farmers, actually, that the rains will continue. Watch out, it will be a gloomy, wet week, warns Met Department. Good news to farmers, and a not so good news to those planning outdoor activities such as graduation parties, because heavy rainfall will continue into the weekend. The weatherman said the rains will especially be heavy in western, including Turkana and Samburu counties, up until Saturday.
All right.
So a rainy weekend is expected.
So those are planning weddings for this Saturday.
I actually have a friend who has a wedding ceremony, and she was very distressed because her photo shoot was supposed to be outside, outdoors.
But maybe there will be that window
Yeah.
of sunlight for a few hours.
Or she could just have a romantic Bollywood photo shoot in the rain.
Matters Business. Safaricom opens new M-Pesa fund after ownership wrangles. This is Matters Business. They say the ownership fight over a Safaricom-backed Mali unit trust has forced the telecom's operator to form a rival fund, dropping Genghis capital and embracing new fund managers. Yes. Why Kenyan mineral dealers are stuck with 42,000 tons in stock. This is dealers in minerals are stuck with a stockpile of more than 42,000 metric tons worth of millions of shillings after President William Ruto's administration classified 14 minerals strategic, transferring the authority to explore, mine, and trade to the state. Other quick highlights on the ticker: MPs reject bid to cut counties' funds on missed targets, and Kenya's public debt rises 2% to 229 billion shillings. Elsewhere, Kakuzi issues profit warning on Middle East tensions, and smartphone imports fall on protests. So apparently, people are not buying many phones because there's no money. New smartphone shipments to Kenya have significantly dropped for 2 consecutive quarters for the first time in over 5 years because of a dip in disposable income.
Or I have another theory. We could be seeing more and more cases of phones being brought in illegally through smuggling, through routes that are not
to avoid
paying taxes. Or it could be that people are getting smarter. Who knows?
Or people simply don't have money to buy phones.
Or it could be that either.
Yeah. All right, so those are the dailies, and as we wrap up, let's take a look at the cartoons. A bit complex today. So the cartoon on the Star is pretty simple. We have a caricature of someone standing with a gentleman who's resembles the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in his back pocket.
And who would this gentleman be, the gentleman standing?
He's a pink kaunda suit.
Yes.
Like the one that the president wore in his recent tour of Kisumu. So could be the president.
Could be.
So with Raila Odinga in his pocket, and now he's just high-fiving. This is governor for Kisumu, Anyang, you can tell from the beard.
Yes.
This is James Orengo. So now he's just high-fiving. And all these people are all eager to stretch their hands and shake the president's
hands with the president.
Yeah. Why? Because he has Raila Odinga in his pocket now. That's a cartoonist.
In his back pocket.
According to the cartoonist, not
us.
At the Star. People Daily.
Violence. This is what happens when the weather is too predictable.
So we have a ballot box here. ODM grassroots elections. So they were hoping to actually to conduct these grassroots elections with people actually voting.
And that's an orange, of course.
Yes, this is orange. But it would appear this orange is now covering the ballot box. So they won't go for the ballot process. Instead, as we've seen, they've opted for consensus to avert a fallout. So because they do expect this, there's a dark cloud hanging over it of violence.
Thunderstorms.
Wakijaribu kupiga kura, kutakuwa na vita. So the weather is too predictable. So they decided to use consensus.
Fit Akamba into Gema. That's exactly what was actually in one of the newspapers, right? The story that we saw.
So you have this gentleman seated right next to the mulima with his crown on his head.
And this gentleman
amefunga milango zote, but then there's a guy who's trying to
climb the door.
Yes.
And jump onto the other side.
Yes, and that story actually, they say Akamba has joined Gema, and there was a group of Kikuyu elders who announced that they have now included the Akamba community as part of the Gikuyu Embu Meru Association. Now it's Akamba.
Akamba, not association anymore.
Gema.
Peacekeeping, global trade, regional leadership, democracy. And that is, of course, Musalia Mudavadi, that says 60 foreign affairs, 60 affairs. And at the back, we see a shadow creeping up on him that says, in fact, it's his shadow, actually, because they're holding the same position. It says abductions, corruption, tribalism, stealing, and elections. And the reason why abductions are the top over there is because of Besigye, right? The recent abduction of Besigye in Kenya.
So this week, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs marked 60 years of Kenya's diplomacy.
And that's the vision.
The CSEI is highlighting the many, what do you call them, achievements of Kenya's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But of course, they don't mention
any
a lot of
those
these things
at the back, things that are creeping up and things that are hidden, of course. Abductions, corruption, tribalism, stealing, as well as stealing elections. That is one statement, not just stealing an election.
So that's those are the cartoons. As we wrap up this news review, let's take a look at the traffic situation before we take a break. Tuone kama mambo imegeuka. Yes, and you can see, yes.
It has, actually. Muthaiga Square, Nairobi, that is, which road is that?
This is Pangani Interchange. So we do have, if you're coming from Thika Road or Kiambu Road, do expect this signal up here, but this is usual. After that, you can either use Muranga Road or Forest Road towards town. So a bit of a signal up there, but it's not as bad as it was yesterday. Jana vile kulinyesha hapa ilikuwa imerudi mpaka huku nyuma. So that's as far as that section is concerned. If we get into town, Haile Selassie is getting very busy. All the way from Uhuru Highway, you can see patches of red here. And once you get into Haile Selassie Avenue towards the Bomb Blast Memorial area, there's a bit of traffic there because the matatus are there. Areas around Machakos bus station, Marikiti in town, also getting busy as people try to get holiday travel. Jogoo Road too, also looking a bit busy, but nothing much to worry about. Makadara areas, kawaida. This is inside Buruburu. Watu wanatoka Buruburu sahi, but on the main highway to town, it's not looking so bad. Mombasa Road looking smooth all the way into town. Of course, there are sections that are slow, especially where you have exits
and the
entries
expressway.
Onto the expressway.
Yes.
But other than that, that section of the road is looking good. We go to the other side of town, and this is Wayaki. We're also looking good. Nothing much to worry about from that area as well, getting into town.
Right.
Southern part of the
Gong Road, right there, the roundabout especially.
Yes, this is area around Prestige Plaza.
Yes, so it seems to be having a bit of traffic.
Quite busy
right now. Quite busy right there.
Finally, Langata Road is looking good, all the way from the, what do you call this? Animal Orphanage down past Ulinzi Sports Complex, Uhuru Gardens, and all the way into town. It's looking good. The Southern Bypass too is looking fine as at 35 minutes past 6. So the traffic situation today is not as bad as it was yesterday.
As yesterday, actually.
Yesterday when it rained, there was chaos all over.
Yeah, but today it seems to be okay.
So remember, it is Thanksgiving in the US, and we'll be having turkey in studio.